You've seen her face in the photos, the stoic woman in camouflage, standing tall with her rifle at the ready, a soldier like any other. But this isn't the kind of story that glorifies battles won or medals earned. This is about what they didn't see. This is about a woman, like any of us, who enlisted, not because it was easy, but because the world told her she couldn't. They said she wasn't strong enough to fight. You were there when she first walked through the doors of the recruitment center. You could feel the pressure in her chest as she stood there, looking at the others who might have seemed more fit for battle. You saw her eyes flicker, not with doubt, but with a quiet, burning determination. She wasn't supposed to make it, not in the way others would. But she knew something others didn't. Strength doesn't always look the way people expect. As you follow her through the training camps and drills, you can see the weight of the challenge on her shoulders. Every day she battles not just the grueling workouts, but the subtle whispers of doubt from her peers. It's not the brutal training that wears her down, but the quiet, unspoken assumption that she wasn't meant to be there. The male recruits, unsure of how to treat her, talk down to her. There's always that comment, that look, the underestimation. You watch her as she finishes yet another day, sweat pouring down her face, and you can't help but wonder. How many times has she questioned herself? How many moments did she want to quit? But each time she holds her head high, her resolve sharper than ever, and the fire in her eyes a silent defiance. The world might say she wasn't strong enough, but she's still here, pushing forward. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I want to hear where you're from and what time it is when you're watching. Drop a comment and let's dive straight into her story. You see it now. She's standing tall in that first field deployment. The sun is high in the sky, the air thick with tension, and you feel that pulse of anticipation that runs through every soldier, every warrior ready for action. They say it's the hardest test, but she's ready. The world has underestimated her, but here in this moment, she'll show them exactly what she's made of. You're out in the field with her now. The sounds of distant gunfire ring in the air, mixed with the harsh winds of an unfamiliar landscape. Dust kicks up, swirling around her boots as she keeps moving, eyes scanning the horizon. Her heart pounds in her chest, not because of fear, but because she's finally here, doing the thing she was told she couldn't. She's no longer just the woman who was doubted. She's a soldier. But with the shift from training to deployment comes something unexpected, the weight of expectations. You can see the pressure building, not just from the enemy, but from within her unit. Some soldiers, still unsure how to interact with her, look at her with skepticism, thinking she can't keep up. Some give her a sideways glance when she raises her hand to ask for something she doesn't know, their silence louder than any insult. This is her first real test. A series of missions that will either make or break her. The heat is unbearable, the physical exertion relentless. The hours are long, and the fatigue weighs down on her. One day, during a routine patrol, things go sideways. A simple mistake, one that anyone could have made, spirals out of control. A weapon jams. It's an accident, one of those things that happens in the chaos of combat. But it's enough to throw everything into jeopardy. She freezes for a moment, her breath catching in her throat as the world around her blurs into chaos. Her comrades don't stop moving, their training kicking in like instinct. You see her panic, her body fighting to stay calm, to push through. But for a split second, you can feel the weight of everything she's been carrying. The pressure to prove herself, the fear of failure, the crushing thought that maybe they were right about her all along. It's a moment that could break her. But she doesn't let it. Her hands shake as she clears the jam, her breath coming in sharp, frantic gasps. But she steadies herself. She continues. She doesn't collapse. She doesn't stop. When they finally reach camp that night, she finds herself isolated, staring into the fire, surrounded by the quiet hum of a team that's moved past the crisis. They're not talking to her, not offering any praise. She tells herself it doesn't matter, but inside, something cracks. She realizes she's not just fighting the enemy. She's fighting the weight of everyone's expectations and their silent judgment. It's as if they don't see her as a soldier, but as an exception to the rule. Later that night, as she lies in her cot, the weight of the situation presses down on her chest. The fear isn't gone. It never really leaves. But something inside of her shifts. She realizes with sudden clarity that she's not just here to prove something to them. She's here to prove something to herself. She can hear her team talking in hushed voices outside her tent. She knows they're discussing the day's events, the moment she faltered. The pressure is unbearable. They're still talking about her, dissecting her every move. She wants to yell, to scream at them to stop, but she swallows it. She remembers the feeling of the rifle in her hands, the fire in her gut. She pushes the doubt away. Tomorrow, she'll show them. Tomorrow, she'll prove that she belongs here. The sun rises again, and with it comes the next mission. She's more determined than ever. She moves faster, more purposefully. When her squad leader gives her an order, she takes it, doesn't hesitate. She executes it flawlessly. There's no room for mistakes this time. She's done with proving herself to anyone but herself. But even in the quiet moments when no one's watching, she knows this isn't just a battle against the enemy. It's a battle she'll fight every day for the rest of her life. The mission continues, but so does her inner war. And you realize, standing with her in the field, that courage isn't just about running toward the enemy. It's about looking in the mirror every day and deciding to fight, despite everything telling you that you shouldn't. The days pass, each one a blur of missions, strategy, and survival. But it's not the combat that has you on edge anymore, it's her quiet transformation. You see the signs, a slight shift in her posture, a tighter grip on her rifle, her eyes, once unsure, now hardening with resolve. Yet, despite this, there are still moments that shake her, moments when the weight of the mission, of her past, threatens to pull her under. She doesn't speak much about the injuries, the scars that others can't see. You know better than to ask, yet the subtle signs are there. Then it happens, the kind of event that shakes you to your core, one that could break anyone, but especially her. A routine patrol, nothing unusual, but the sudden eruption of violence feels like an earthquake under your feet. The world tilts and everything goes dark for a moment. The dust clears, shouts, gunfire, screams. You're thrown into chaos, everyone moving as fast as they can, your body moving on instinct. In the middle of it all, you hear her voice, sharp with command, directing her team, keeping everyone in line. The fighting's intense, and you can barely hear yourself think over the roar of the combat. But then you see her. She's down. 1 second, she's running. The next, she's crumpled on the ground, clutching her side. It's not the physical pain that shocks you, though. It's the way her face looks. There's no panic, no scream of agony. There's only focus, a quiet determination that makes your heart race in a way it never has before. She doesn't let the blood on her hands stop her from pushing herself back up. She wants to keep fighting, but something inside of her cracks. They rush to her, and the battlefield suddenly fades into the background as she's whisked away, the team moving fast, adrenaline coursing through every vein. She's in the back of an armored vehicle now, her breathing shallow. You're not sure what's going to happen next, but you know one thing for sure. This isn't just about the physical injury. It's about everything that's come before it. This is where the breaking point happens. The moment when her mind can't keep up with the body's refusal to quit. Her legs are still strong, but her heart is tired. Her spirit is beginning to shatter, and for the first time she wonders if she's strong enough to fight through this. Not because of the physical pain, but because of the weight she's been carrying for so long. She wakes up in a field hospital, the sterile smell of antiseptic filling the air. It's not home, but it's the only place where she's safe right now. Her body aches, but her mind is the hardest thing to calm. Every night she lays awake, trying to silence the chaos inside her. The wounds on her body are healing, but what about the wounds she can't see? How do you heal a soul that's been beaten down by a lifetime of proving yourself to the world? Her recovery is slow, painstaking. It isn't the physical rehabilitation that's the hardest part, it's the mental one. The doctors tell her she'll be fine, but their words fall flat. She can't shake the feeling that she's let everyone down, that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't strong enough after all. You watch as she stares out of the hospital window, the quiet moments stretching into eternity. There's something broken inside of her that even the best treatment can't fix. Her team visits, but they don't know how to talk to her. They're there, but they don't get it. The isolation hits hardest when no one knows what to say. It's during these moments that she begins to doubt everything, her abilities, her worth, even her purpose. But it's in the silence that something shifts, something unexpected. She begins to heal, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. The first step is simple. She starts talking, slowly at first to the fellow soldiers who visit her, then, a little more, to the doctors. She doesn't talk about the pain in the way others expect. She doesn't cry for sympathy. Instead, she talks about the fight, the mission, the future. It's not just about surviving anymore. It's about understanding her place in all of this. Her journey isn't linear. There are setbacks, days when she wants to quit, days when the weight of everything is too much. But with every small victory, she begins to piece herself back together. And in doing so, she discovers something greater than any physical feat she's ever accomplished. She discovers the true power of resilience, the quiet strength it takes to heal, to rise from the ashes, to keep going, even when everything inside of her tells her to stop. The twist is this: the fight isn't over just because the battle has ended. It's what happens after the battle that determines who you truly are. And when the world is done measuring her by the wounds on her body, she will prove that the courage she holds inside will never be underestimated again. She's standing at the edge of a new battle, but it's one she never saw coming. The physical wounds may have healed, but now it's the long, slow process of reclaiming herself. The hardest fight is still ahead. It's the fight against her own mind. You know how it feels to try to re-enter the world after something has broken you. The world moves on as if everything is the same, but inside her, everything is different. They never talk about this part. The part where you have to come to terms with what you've seen, what you've experienced. Her body is healing, but every night she lies awake. Those images from the front lines haunt her. The faces of the men she couldn't save, the moments when she could have done more. It's not the injuries that are keeping her awake, but the question that lingers in the darkness. Am I enough? You watch her as she tries to find a sense of normalcy. She's back at home now, away from the chaos, but the chaos still lives in her mind. Her family is supportive, yes, but there's a distance between them that's hard to ignore. They've seen her in photos, heard stories of her service, but no one knows what it's really like. No one knows what it's like to be a woman in a world that constantly tries to define your worth. She goes to a local support group for veterans, hoping to find some kind of connection. The group is small, the faces familiar in the sense that they've all been to the same places, seen the same horrors. But she's different. She feels different. The other veterans are mostly men, with their own stories, their own struggles. They don't understand what it's like to be a woman in a male-dominated world of combat, where you're constantly told you're not strong enough, not capable enough. The words echo in her mind, louder than ever before. The first time she speaks at the group, she's nervous. Her voice shakes, her words stumbling out in a way she didn't expect. But there's a moment, one small spark, when she realizes that they're listening. They're hearing her for the first time, not as a woman, not as a soldier, but as a human being. She begins to open up more, to share the quiet struggles, the emotional scars that no one ever talks about. It's in these moments, in the small victories of vulnerability, that she starts to heal. Not because the world suddenly gets easier, but because she starts to believe that she has a place in it. She's not just a soldier who fought a war. She's a person who fought, who survived, who is worthy of recognition. She begins to see herself not as someone who was broken by the war, but as someone who was shaped by it. But it's not just in these quiet personal moments where she finds healing. She's determined to give back, to help other veterans who are struggling in the same way she did. She begins volunteering at organizations that support veterans, becoming the advocate for others she once needed. It's not just about fighting for her own recognition anymore. It's about fighting for others who are still hidden in the shadows. The true resolution comes when she steps into a room filled with veterans, some struggling, some already healed. And for the first time, she doesn't feel out of place. She doesn't feel like the exception to the rule. she belongs. The respect from her peers, the respect she's earned over the course of her service and recovery, is undeniable. It's not just about the medals or the stories told by others, it's about the quiet strength she's shown. Her voice, once uncertain, is now a rallying cry. "If I can do this," she says to the group, "then you can too." It's more than a simple encouragement, it's a declaration. Her struggle wasn't just her own. It was a collective fight, a fight against expectations, against the system, against herself. But she made it through, and now she's here to help others find their way. And as the group nods, as they listen and understand, you realize that the real victory wasn't in the combat zones. The real battle was always within. This is the fight no one warned her about, but it's the fight that will determine her legacy. The world may have underestimated her once, but now she stands tall, a beacon of resilience for everyone who's ever been told they weren't strong enough. The moral of her journey isn't about the battles won or lost. It's about the power of human connection, of knowing that we don't fight alone. In the end, it wasn't the physical injuries that almost broke her. It was the mental weight of being invisible, of being underestimated, of being told she wasn't enough. But she proved them wrong. And now, every day, she helps others prove it to themselves. She might have been told she wasn't strong enough to fight, but what she's learned is that strength comes in many forms. It doesn't always look like the person charging headfirst into battle. Sometimes it's the quiet person who's been through hell and still gets up the next morning to help someone else find their way. It's months later, and she's standing in front of a crowd. The walls of the community centre feel too tight, the air thick with the nervous buzz of an audience unfamiliar with the rawness of what she's about to say. She's never been a public speaker, never needed to be. But today she stands before a room full of fellow veterans, parents, supporters and strangers, all drawn to her story for the same reason. They need to know the truth. You stand beside her, watching from the back of the room. Her palms are sweating, her heart racing, but she doesn't back down. She's been here before, facing down fear, doubt and isolation. The hardest part, she knows, is never the audience. The hardest part is facing the truth within herself. The truth that still feels like a wound she hasn't fully healed. The topic of her speech isn't just about combat, about the struggles of a soldier. It's about the part of her journey that's never talked about, the part that lies hidden beneath the surface, the transition home, the healing, the long, grueling road to reclaiming her identity when everyone expects her to be the same person she was when she left. The war might be over, but that doesn't mean the battle has ended. She begins, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. She talks about the first night she returned home, the quiet that felt like a storm in her chest. The people who were supposed to be there for her didn't know how to be. She talks about the loneliness, the way the world moved on without her, as if she had never left. She tells them about the shame she felt when no one acknowledged her service, not because she needed praise, but because she needed to know that she wasn't forgotten. You see the faces of the audience. Some are nodding in understanding, others wiping their eyes, feeling the weight of her words. She's telling them the things they've been too afraid to speak, the things that no one else ever mentioned. The fear that when you come back, you're expected to leave the war behind, to just fit back into the world that never really understood what you went through. But then something shifts in her. You can see it in the way her posture changes. She takes a deep breath, letting the emotion flow out with every word. This isn't just a story about her struggle anymore. It's a story about the fight that still matters. The fight to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized. She's not just a veteran who survived the battle. She's a woman who fought for her place in a world that never made room for her. And as she speaks, she shares her breakthrough. The moment she realized that her fight wasn't over, that her value wasn't determined by the scars on her body or the battles she'd won. Her fight was for the women who came after her. The ones who still didn't have a voice, the ones who were told they weren't strong enough. Her voice cracks as she talks about those women, the ones who served quietly, who were never celebrated, who carried the weight of their service in silence. And she knows deep down that this is her purpose now. This is why she's here. Not just to share her story, but to help others share theirs. To make sure no one is left behind, no one is forgotten. The crowd is silent as she speaks. You can hear the subtle shuffling of feet, the soft sounds of people shifting in their seats. They're not just listening, they're feeling, they're connecting. And you know that, for the first time, she's not alone in this fight anymore. These people understand. They know what it feels like to carry the weight of something that no one else can see. As she finishes her speech, the room erupts in applause. It's not just polite clapping. It's a wave of gratitude, of recognition, of respect. For her, for every veteran who's ever felt invisible, and for the many more who will come after, she's done what she never thought possible. She's not just sharing her story, she's changing the narrative. She's making sure that every woman who served, every person who fought, is seen, not as an exception, but as part of the whole. As the applause fades, she steps off the stage, her heart pounding, but this time, not from fear. This time, it's from a quiet sense of victory. She's found her place. She's found her voice, and now she's helping others find theirs. You can see it in her face. The weight of her journey hasn't gone away, but she's no longer carrying it alone. There's a deep satisfaction that comes with this moment, a sense that despite all the hardship, the unseen battles and the struggles no one talks about, she's done something real, something that matters. She's not just a soldier anymore. She's a symbol of something larger. The resilience, the power, and the unyielding courage of every woman who was ever told she wasn't strong enough to fight. And when she looks out over the crowd, you see it. The same fire that burned in her when she first enlisted, the same fire that pushed her through the hardest moments of her service. It's not gone. It's stronger than ever. She hasn't just survived. She's thriving, standing as a beacon for every other woman who's ever been told she wasn't enough. You realize now, as you stand by her side, that the battle isn't over for anyone. It's ongoing, and it's not just about proving strength in war. It's about proving strength in life, in overcoming everything that tries to make you feel small. She has done it, and now she's showing the world how to do the same. You're standing beside her now, years removed from the chaos of combat, but the weight of what she's been through still feels raw, like a living thing that never really leaves her side. The world has changed in some ways, but not in all the ways it should have. The fight for recognition, for respect, is far from over. But you can see that the woman who once doubted her strength now walks with a quiet assurance. She's no longer just a face among many in a room filled with veterans. She's a leader, a voice for the voiceless, and more importantly, a symbol of what happens when you refuse to let the world define your worth. This is the final stage of her journey, the one where she's no longer just surviving, but thriving. And as you stand beside her, watching her work, you understand something that you never fully realized before. The true battle for a veteran isn't over once the mission ends. It's the war that happens after, when the applause fades and the world turns its attention elsewhere. Her new mission isn't in the battlefield. It's on the streets, in communities, in the spaces where veterans still don't feel recognized, where their needs are brushed aside, and where they're still seen as an afterthought. She's made it her life's work to change that. To make sure that those who served are not forgotten, not just in the headlines, but in the everyday lives of ordinary people. You watch as she meets with other women veterans who still haven't found their footing in the world after returning home. Some are still in the dark about their benefits. Others are struggling with the isolation that comes from being a woman in a male-dominated military world. She doesn't just listen. She provides answers, support, and a sense of hope. Not just as a veteran, but as someone who understands the unique struggles they face. You remember her telling you once that the hardest part about being a woman in the military wasn't the physical demands, or even the combat. It was the constant fight for legitimacy, the struggle to be taken seriously when everything around her told her she couldn't. And while that battle never fully disappears, you can see that she's found a way to redefine what it means to be strong. Her strength isn't measured in the size of her muscles or the number of missions she's completed. It's measured in her willingness to help others, to create space for voices that are often silenced. You also notice how her work has started to shift the conversations around female veterans. Slowly, the public narrative is beginning to change. More people are talking about the sacrifices that women in uniform make, about the unique challenges they face. But it's not just about talking, it's about doing. And she's doing. From securing better healthcare for female veterans to advocating for policies that address their specific needs, she's carving out a legacy that will outlast her own service. She's showing the world what it truly means to be strong, not through the lens of physical combat, but through the emotional, psychological, and communal strength required to rebuild after the battle ends. And then, in one of those moments that will stick with you forever, you see her standing at a veterans event, surrounded by a crowd of people, some familiar, others not. She's not just a speaker today. She's a presence, a person who's lived the reality she talks about. She's not the exception anymore. She's the norm. You can see it in the way people gravitate toward her, the respect in their eyes. They no longer see her as someone who was underestimated. They see her as someone who has earned every ounce of respect and admiration. At that moment, you realize that her story isn't just hers anymore. It's part of a much bigger picture, one that includes every woman who ever fought in silence, every soldier who came home feeling invisible, every person who was told they weren't strong enough. Her journey is a testament to all of them. She's proven that courage doesn't just lie in the heart of the battlefield. It lies in the resilience to rebuild, to rise from the ashes of battle, and to keep moving forward, no matter how much the world tries to drag you back. Her story is one of the many untold truths that often go unnoticed, but it's also a story of victory, of perseverance, of defiance, of hope. She's shown the world that the real fight happens after the fight. It's not about medals or recognition, but about reclaiming your dignity, your voice, your place in the world. And as she continues to change the lives of those around her, she becomes a living example of the power of the human spirit, of what happens when you refuse to accept the labels that others put on you. In this final chapter of her story, you understand the true impact of her journey. It's not about the battles she fought in combat. It's about the battles she fought within herself. It's about finding the strength to face the world, to help others rise up, and to prove once and for all that courage, real courage, can never be underestimated. And as you stand beside her, watching the people around her come to life with the hope she sparked in them, you realize that her story isn't just one of personal triumph. It's a reminder to us all that we can rise above the limitations others place on us, that we too can find our strength, our voice, and our place in the world. It's not just about fighting back, it's about moving forward. And in the end, that's what true strength is all about.